what's going on.
Yeah. All right, good evening, everyone. It is 7:05, and at this time I'll call the Board of Selectmen meeting to order for Monday, November 5th, 2018. We have a few board and committee openings, some on the Open Space Committee, one position for the Board of Health. Other announcements, we have the Board of Selectmen will be holding a rededication of the Patton Park tank on Veterans Day at 12 p.m. in front of the Patton tank at Patton Park. Also, all residents in need to review their Medicare prescription or drug advantage plans, in the during open enrollment, October 15th through December 7th. Please contact the Council on Aging Director, Mary Beth, at 978-468-5595 to make an appointment with the Shine Counselor. And now we have a portion for public comment, 3 minutes for topics not already on the agenda. If anybody wishes to come up, do so now.
Edwin Howard, 10 Mile Lane. Something's happened in my little business of being a landlord, and I've been addressing leaking toilets. I own 22 toilets. That's how rich I am. What I'm after is what I've been up to this week is chasing my big water bill for one of my apartment houses, which is basically based on the leaking flapper valve in the toilets. I would like you to encourage, in your positions as master of the waterworks of the town, that you consider distributing toilet dye. Very inexpensive. I tried to get a quote price-wise, but it's as small a change as you can come up with. It's very simple to use. The address of where to get it is on there. I think the town ought to consider sponsoring, sending an envelope of toilet dye out with the next water bill, and say, folks, if you can use it, that in itself has the potential to save more water than it is compared to what you're going to put into drilling a new well somewhere. It's just conserving is a very good way to go, and also keeps the EPA happy. So I've got a bribe for you.
You got some free samples for us, Ed?
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you. Thank you, Ed.
What can I say? Use in good health.
And it's got all the information on it, Ed?
Yeah. Thanks, Ed.
The address is an email address,
Yeah.
number, and what have you.
All right.
I can't remember what I paid when I bought for my apartment houses, but maybe got 1,000 packets for $10 or something.
Oh, so it's short money then.
It's great. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Ed. Great idea.
I'm going to go home and eat supper.
All right, take care, Ed.
Good night, Ed.
Thank you, Ed.
All right, anybody else?
I addressed this question before about Cutler Road being paved or regraded, and
Could you just state your name again, please, for us? For the
sorry.
record?
Oh, Tatiana Bezamat.
Thank you, Tatiana.
Bezamat. I live on Blackbrook Road, and it just doesn't. I cannot understand the theory of grading it poorly 10 times a summer versus grading it properly once and having it done right. The cost would be a lot less, and it just never stays. You just did it a week ago, and it's already got full of holes. So I don't understand the theory of why you want to keep on doing it that way versus making a mound, grading it properly. I lived in Vermont, so I know all about grading. Can you give me an explanation why that would? How we have to keep going down this path?
Well, I don't have a full explanation, I guess, but I can say from what I've gleaned from our DPW director that we have been grading it in-house with the equipment we have. We don't own a grader. And putting out...
That's just pushing dirt into the holes, and the holes keep reappearing a week later.
Right, right.
I mean, do you think that's efficient? I don't.
Well, it's
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I know this is frustrating. This is
It's
usually
really
for public-
frustrating.
for public comment, so it's not really a decision time or debate amongst the selectmen, but I can share with you our Chabaco Road experience, which is similar kinds of things, and we've got subcontracted equipment that's been out there and do the right way,
Right.
as you say, and after storms and use, they're back integrated to what they were before.
I heard they were,
So
the
what I
people were
su-
really happy with that, how it came out.
right away. But after some storms, then
Right, it doesn't last.
It can get bad again. So what I recommend is a follow-up. One of us can help you, or you with Tim or Joe, to try to get Cutler Road back, if possible, with this equipment that's not the town-owned, some equipment subcontracted. Do our best we can to grade it.
To, mound it and grade it so it lasts maybe through the winter. It
And
should last through the winter.
I don't want to speak for Tim, but I think he had some kind of a plan in place for Cutler and a few other roads that are unimproved roads that aren't paved with the grading, and I think he's doing something with it now. So if you could please follow up with an email to myself and to Joe.
I should email you?
Email myself and Joe.
I did email you, and I didn't get any response. You said everything that's the way it was.
Well, not so much. I didn't
Basically.
put it that well, not basically.
I mean, you said it wasn't going to do any good to grade it properly.
No, I didn't. I didn't say
Well, you did. I have it at home.
Okay. I mean, I don't want to argue with him right now,
No.
but I'm saying that we're doing our best with what we have, and we'll follow up with you on it. Once I know Tim was working on a plan for some stuff. I don't think he's finished it yet. He's got a lot of other things on his plate, but we will follow up with you on it.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming out.
Turn the volume in there is a little high and distracting.
Yes,
don't know
I
if we
can hear the echo on
Yeah, I don't know if we can turn it down.
Hear it? To do that?
Yeah, I can hear it. I can hear. Selectmen Town Manager reports time. Jeff, you mind us starting with you?
Sure. Got a couple things tonight here. One is Veterans Day is this upcoming weekend. Just wanted to remind everybody that there's a breakfast for veterans at 8:30 at the American Legion on School Street. And then there's a parade that follows that begins at 10:30 at Town Hall here. The procession will travel to the cemetery on 623 Bay Road for short service there and then return back here to Town Hall. And then also wanted to help Karen Tyler, who is our Director of Veteran Services for the Eastern Essex District, has signed Hamilton up and is hoping for participation and volunteer support, especially for the Wreaths Across America program. And this is something that'll happen on December 15th. The town of Hamilton will lay wreaths on veterans' graves simultaneously with participants at the Arlington National Cemetery and communities across the nation. So Karen can be reached at 978-356-3915. The other thing is I just wanted to give you an update on Gordon Conwell Task Force. The schedule at this point is to have a tour of the property. I believe it's scheduled for next week. And we're just going to learn what the campus, kind of the layout of the campus and what the different buildings are used for, kind of an overview. Get a layout of where the property that the town actually owns is, in terms of where the water tanks are laid out, where there could be potential for cell tower type thing. So it should be an interesting walkthrough. And I just want to acknowledge the people on that committee who have been working really hard. The chair is David Smith. Peter Clark's on the committee, Russ Tanzer, Dave Thompson, and Joe is obviously on that committee as well. It's been nice. It's a nice combination of new and old faces, and that's always brings refreshing and thoughtful perspective, and they're doing a great job. The Town Hall Building Committee is working with an OPM. Started off with about 9 different architects that will help us do a couple things, but primarily determine what's going on structurally as things exist in this building and the property and the DPW yard and the complications of a multi-use property. But they'll do an assessment of that, an assessment of all the office space that we have that's would be nice to have or required kind of thing. So they've narrowed it down from 9 firms. I think Allison had to stack the presentations were this tall, down to 3, down to 1. So they've actually chosen an architecture firm that has experience doing other town halls similar to our situation. So they have a lot of experience. And I just want to acknowledge the people on that committee. The chair of that committee is Jean-Pierre Minois. Jay Butler is on the committee, Mike Trumey. Phil Stearns is our FinCom liaison. Patrick Reffert and Tim Olson have done, an outstanding job, I have to say, in terms of being there and, as staff and as professionals that are adding to the committee and helping make some of these pretty major decisions on behalf of the town. So kudos to both committees. And that's all I have. And vote tomorrow.
Right, good ad.
Don't forget to
That's
vote.
right.
Scott?
Please vote tomorrow. Jeff, input on with Karen Tyler could be, I think the cemetery fund, we might be, I'll bring it up later as a topic for future discussion, but I think we
right.
can use some of the cemetery fund to pay for wreaths. So we might be able to do some of them, because I know they're trying to reach out to individuals, but the
Okay.
cemetery fund's grown to be quite large. We might as well use it for,
Good to know.
it's a beautification type activity we could do.
Who would you talk to about that?
I think I'm happy to bring it up as a topic here,
Okay,
and then
all right,
then we could just decide an amount that we might want to do.
okay.
We'll talk with Marissa
And
about
I
it.
did ping her on the cost per wreath, and so we could come up with some
Okay.
amount that we might feel is reasonable as a
All right,
contribution.
Great.
Reminder, Selectmen, we've got, maybe you're gonna bring this up, Sean, but Saturday morning,
Yep.
we're meeting. It's goals with the town manager, so if you have a chance, talk to Joe ahead of time. It's only been 2 months, really, he's been here, but what's he seen, as well as things that we think are important. And a quick update on Power Success Corps, the company that consults to nonprofits, which is helping the Patton Homestead Inc. and the town both. And they're midway through their project. They're going to on target to wrap up in December. And their 2 primary outputs are pricing, like what could we charge for uses of the Patton Homestead of different types, and particular groups that we might want to target to reach out to how to and also how to communicate to them. So they've been doing a lot of research, talked to a lot of groups. It's kind of organically grown as they talk to more, spend more. They're finding a lot of demand for use, which is good, but it's still in terms of what they're seeing so far. So we'll hear about that in December when they wrap up.
Great.
All right. Bill?
All right, for the Affordable Housing Trust, we have not met since the special town meeting. We've had trouble getting a quorum because of the
4 out of 5.
4 out of 5. So we are looking for a date in December right now, and we're going to have Willow Street on the agenda as trying to figure out what to do with that now that we have sort of moved beyond Longmeadow. On the planning board, I think the exciting thing there is that they've started the master plan rewrite on the housing, so residential housing, sort of that's housing plan, housing production plan, that's their next goal. So they brought a consultant on board and they're working towards that rewrite of the master plan. So that'll be a big endeavor over the next few months for them. That's all I have today.
All right. I'm fairly brief. I really only have one item. The Hamilton Wenham Cultural Council will be meeting the 13th this coming week, or next week actually, and discussing all their potential grants and their funding for the next year. So it's kind of an exciting thing where they hand out some grants to good people and good causes. So And that's really all I have. Joe?
Sure. Number of things, but I'll just highlight a few. The job description for the Patent Homestead Director is been posted, and we're going to be circulating that as well through some other networks to try to get as much interest in the position as possible. The goal is to have a director on board by January 1st. Our Finance Director has begun interviewing a pool of candidates for the open position in the Accounting Department, and our Treasurer has also begun interviewing folks for the open position in the Treasurer's Department. That said, we still currently have 4 employees out on medical leave, and we have 3 others who are going to be requesting it shortly, so we're still up against it as far as staffing goes. Echo Cove Road Project has, I know it got a lot of attention earlier in the year. It has begun. The company, the vendor aggregate, ground the existing pavement down last week, and we'll spend a day or two in the next week or so to pave that road again and complete that project. So the folks out there should be happy their new street will be delivered before the winter. And two other items. One, we did get some unfortunate news last week. You all remember the Bridges Street culvert project. It ran into some cost overruns just because of the nature of construction and the timing of that project. FEMA had told us to go ahead and pay for the project. It did not involve a change of scope. They would cover their overruns. Unfortunately, during the time from the time that the project ended to the time that FEMA reviewed the paperwork, the town's pre-disaster mitigation plan lapsed. Those are 5-year plans, and if you don't have a good plan in place, FEMA can't award funds. So they're not currently able to award the overrun funds. I have already been in touch with MAPC, who is contracted through the state to do PDM plans and PDM plan updates to try to get a price for them to figure out how much it's going to cost to get that done and try and get it done as quickly as possible. And I have a call into MEMA to try to confirm that FEMA had said when they denied us that if we got the plan updated, then we could seek reimbursement again at that time. But I need to know what the clock is, because federal money usually has a sunset clause. So I need to know what fiscal year they're planning, federal fiscal year they're planning to pay us out of, so we can determine if we have time to update it and still get the reimbursement. We may not be able to get the reimbursement at all. So we're still working on that. Either way, we'll probably go forward with an update of the PDM plan, because without it, you're not eligible for other FEMA funding. So we want to make sure that we renew our eligibility for those types of things in the future. So we're going to have to address that. The plan lapsed in April, and our submission for reimbursement was in May. So we missed it by a couple weeks.
Do you know how much, like roughly how much we're talking about?
Overall, the whole cost overrun, I believe, was around $160,000, and they'd have been giving us about 75% of that. So
They've already given us 75?
no, they've given us 75% of the rest of the project,
Okay.
and of the overrun, we would be eligible for 75% reimbursement of $160 if we had a plan in place.
Okay.
But we don't have a
So
plan in
it's-
place. So the bills have been paid, though, so it's a matter of kind of how we're balancing that end on the
Okay.
back end. And good note, I prefer to end on good news. Town clerk did report that they had 1,072 voters through early voting
Wow.
the last 2 weeks, and that represents 18% of our voters. If anybody saw the Salem Evening News today, you'd know that in the region, the high was 18% in Danvers. So we did a pretty good job getting our town voters
that's
out
great.
during early voting. Very thankful to Andrea and all of the voting poll workers that came in to work with her, and Letitia and her department. They did a great job. And also want to really thank the other employees and boards and committees at Town Hall for kind of putting up with all the traffic and, reduced use of the memorial room and things like that. It takes a team effort, but certainly that team started with the town clerk's office this time, and they did a great job.
I'll add to that. I've had a few people come to me and say, we early voted, it was great, and thank you for doing all that. I didn't do any of it really, but it's the team here that did it, and it was a well-oiled machine from all the people that I talked to, and it was a very pleasant experience, and they really, really enjoyed it. All right. On to the consent agenda. We have approved minutes from the Board of Selectmen meeting of October 9th, 2018. Request to remove the mandatory water ban, and declare Engine 1, the 1996 Pierce, as surplus. The Friends of Cutler request permission to hang a 5 by 10-foot sign advertising the ski, skate, and board consignment sale from November 6th through the 17th. And that's it for the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? No? All right. And there's some, I think there's some info in your packets on the engine, just for the public there. I think we have an offer from Thorndike, Maine Fire Department for $5,000 for the surplus truck, so that's good. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Wonderful.
Take a brief recess.
Yeah, and so right now it's about 7:30. We're going to take a brief recess to chat with the chair of the FinCom for a second, and then we'll be right back. Good, all right, yeah. For the folks at home, we're just filling the FinCom in on, we had a bit of a clerical error with our posting. So we're going to postpone our joint meeting until the 19th, and we'll take up the agenda then. We just wanted to make sure it wouldn't affect the budget calendar and that everybody on both sides was satisfied with the outcome of it. So we're going to move the joint meeting portion with the FinCom to the 19th. We apologize if you tuned in for it, but stay tuned.
Thanks very much, I appreciate it.
Yeah, sorry, David. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
All right. Get a free Monday night.
Thanks, John, for making the phone
See ya.
call.
Good night.
Thanks, Darcy.
Nick's gonna stick around.
Nick's going to stay. He likes
He's
us.
here.
I appreciate that, Nick.
And we don't have basketball
like the-
tonight, so.
Marissa, I don't think there's anything you need to be here for.
Yeah, no. Marissa, you're all set. You can go home.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming.
All right.
All right, so we're going to move on to the Board of Selectmen portion of the agenda. We have, our first item is a land license for 203 Highland Street, a vote to reissue the license, and I'll cue this up to Joe, who sent us a bunch of information over the week, and if he can tee it up for the folks at home to explain it.
Yeah, I'll do my best. So the gas station that's on Highland Street near the corner of Asbury is being renovated, and the owners have a need to what we call reconstitute the license. That, there's a, I can't remember the type of license, but there's a special license that they got from DEP in 1970. It's a license that's only given once, and it goes with the property forever. The original owner was supposed to record it with the deed and didn't.
And it's a paper copy, I
And it's a,
believe, correct?
and the paper copy was posted on site, hanging in a thing at the old gas station for years and years and years. In fact, in the town's research, we noted that DEP even noted in 2015 that they saw the license in the frame where it was supposed to be. But somewhere between 2015 and today, it got lost. It really doesn't change things in terms of they have the right to do what they do there, but they've asked us to reconstitute the paper license so that they can record it with the Registry of Deeds the way it was supposed to be done. And on the advice of counsel, Donna did point out that doing so is up to you, but you can't just say, well, we don't want to do it because we think they should have kept it or whatever. That really, if we made this an issue, we'd probably wind up sued and lose. You have some leeway here, but for the most part, the idea is that we've done a ton of work. We have copies of the records from when it was initially awarded to them. We have lots of other, fire inspection records and records by EDP and everybody else that says that the license was there and they had been getting their inspections done in the right timely manner and everything else.
So if they hadn't lost it, we wouldn't be having this discussion. It's only because they lost a piece of paper.
Correct.
Exactly.
So no other negative, no
no.
other incidents, no other
there's been
issues.
nothing that anybody's made me aware of that would say that they, should have it taken away or anything like
Right.
that, so.
Okay.
So the idea being that you could vote to reconstitute the license, and a vote of you would suffice to have Donna do the legal work to get it reordered, reissued for them, so that, well, not really reissued, but make a new copy of it, so that they have said to us that they will record it with the deed this time. So we won't ever have to do this again.
Any discussion while we're, questions? Jeff?
I was just going to say that I move that we approve the land license for 2003 Highland Street to reissue the license.
Second?
Any discussion other than that?
I'd like to add just some neighbor comments that I've heard, because it's the Asbury Street motors and
Yeah.
that's being redone. So there are some concerns sometimes about pedestrian traffic coming across the street, because it's now going to be even a little bit more expanded market type of thing, no liquor being served there. So I did mention this to Joe, and he was going to talk to Tim about the possibility of maybe striping an additional walkway, because there isn't anything that crosses, like between Asbury Grove
Right,
as an
I agree.
example, in there. And the only other thing was any excessive storage on site. Like, it has a fairly large parking lot, and there were a lot of materials that seemed to be stored there, or temporary housing for a big boat for a long time, other things. So really stick within the rights of the license and the business operation of the, basically, a gas station and on a market.
Right.
So those are the only good neighbor type comments I've heard. Nobody was saying don't,
Yeah.
Can't
I've
do
heard
this, anything
similar.
like that.
Just the crosswalk
Right.
across Asbury Grove. There's one across Asbury Street now to the other side, but in this stuff, the detritus on the lot, basically.
So I'll talk to Patrick and make that an issue for RISD to make sure that the new owners, once they reopen, stick within the confines of what they're allowed to have there. And then we'll hold them to that. Again, that's another example of why we have this kind of new expanded ISD. We have man-hours to be able to send them out there and say, make sure they're sticking to what they're supposed to be doing. And so I'll talk to Patrick about that, make sure that happens.
All right.
Any other discussion?
I'm good.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes. Up next, we have our social media policy. We've had a handful of readings on it. It's gone back and forth to Donna a little bit and through the board. We've had a few changes and strikes out of it. I believe the copy that's in your packet is the current one that Donna's looked through all of them and gave her blessing to.
Don actually made some changes, anytime college English professors and lawyers, anytime you want something to be edited, just ask one of them.
Right.
And she did a good job, took a deep dive on them, and got us back slightly amended, but nothing substantive as far as, changing the intent or anything like that. So, I thought they were all good changes, so.
I move that we adopt the social media policy for employees and social media policy for town-owned sites.
Second.
And would you add, there's three actually, Scott. Would you add?
Oh, there's another one?
There's one for board and committee
Sorry,
members.
there's a third one. Excuse me, sorry, Jeff, I asked you to modify that. Add to that the social media policy for appointed and elected board/committee members.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Any
Sure.
discussion on any of the edits or where we are?
I have a question about one of them after rereading them again, because I thought tonight would be our final,
Yeah.
this is it. So on the social media policy for employees, the use of private social media, it's section 4. And employees, this is about employees, all persons employed by the town regardless of position. And one of the things it says is employees are prohibited from accessing private social media while on the job. I agree we don't want excessive use of social media, but it is a mechanism sometimes for people to communicate if there's emergencies, urgent stuff, things might be happening, people have got kids in places. A total ban on social media, to me, just doesn't sound this century so much.
Yeah.
And to me, it feels more of a reasonable, a reasonable use of it, which is harder for managers, and because there's some people who just
We'll abuse it, right?
obsess and troll, and it can become crazy. So I don't want to change this around that makes anybody's job harder. But on the other hand, the reality is sometimes social media, you use it in your job too. There might be times when, and I know this is private social media, but I personally be a little bit more in favor of, somebody could check in on something that might be happening, and if it's a quick thing, it's nothing different than making like a personal phone call that they could do.
I mean, in my reading on this one, because this was, I think, one of the slight amendments, but my reading on this is that you have policies to set bright lines, and then you
Okay.
manage within the bright lines. This gives us the ability to, in a discretionary way, make sure people aren't doing the wrong thing with it. We want to really get into having a policy that, well, you're allowed to, check your social media for, 3 minutes a day or anything like that. I think it's better to just say it's not allowed, and then it's up to department heads to, with discretion, just make sure people are doing the right thing. Again, if somebody's at their desk and there's nothing for them to do right at that moment, and they want to, check their Facebook. I don't think anybody's gonna suggest that anybody's gonna be in trouble for that. Certainly not from me, but it wouldn't, but I don't think that you want to try to parse how that appears
All
in the
right,
writing.
I'm good with that.
Do you think
I
it's
think a
worth-
lot of this is about reasonableness
Yeah.
of it and being able to have a policy that people understand and then manage with it.
Right.
So, I'm okay.
Yeah, okay. Anything, Bill, from you?
I just had a question. I missed maybe one discussion, but on the town-owned sites, on second page, number J, it says, postings of town social media shall not contain any of the following. The first one was political campaigns or candidates, and it was changed to add, except as permitted by the campaign finance law. What are we adding that for? What are we trying to protect against by having to add verbiage? We're changing it to add something. I don't understand why we're adding it rather than just keeping it simple.
I think that was added by Donna just because, in recognition of that there are some things that are allowed by campaign finance law, and rather than to have a policy that contradicts that, she just state that.
You can't contradict law. I get that. Mass general law supersedes
Right.
our policies.
So
We might as well
just
include
say
it.
it.
Okay.
Uh,
That makes sense.
Yeah,
to
that
me.
was the gist of it, I think.
Okay.
Anything else from anybody? You had a second, right, Jeff, on it?
Yes,
Right.
Twice.
right.
Twice.
So I second the
And,
second.
All those in favor of approving all three social media policies?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Approved. Next, we have sign and banner locations at the Council on Aging. In your packet, everything for temporary banners, poster boards, sandwich signs. Also, I'll hand this out to you guys. Sorry, I forgot to send it out ahead of time. You can pass 2 more down to those guys. Mary Beth and I have had a few talks. I haven't caught up with Bill Bowler yet, but Mary Beth has, I believe she has money encumbered already for a new sign for the Council on Aging, and we can wrap it into this discussion as well. As many of you know at home and here, our signage in front of the Council on Aging, there was a sign there, it's not there any longer. Mary Beth would like to replace it with a sign similar to the one at the Public Safety Building. This is the design and the quote for it that you have in front of you now. I think it exceeds our current sign size with zoning, but with some emails with Bill Bowler and Mary Beth, I've seen that there's been a variance for the Public Safety Building with the zoning board when it was built for the size of the sign in front of the Public Safety Building. And the question is whether this sign could be the same size or whether it could be smaller. Also, we have our temporary sign posts there that are really just sadly some dilapidated pieces of PT with a warped 2x4 in the middle of it that we put up our vinyl signs on and stuff like that. So maybe we can talk a little about discussing how to improve that area and not have an overwhelming amount of signage there. Plus now that we have the LED one that we have out for different things going on in town, I'd hate to overwhelm that area of town with just too much visual pollution. You know, if you have a sign there, it's a good spot for it because everyone's driving by there, but if you have 80 signs there, no one's going to pay attention to any of them, really. So that's my concern, too. So if anybody has any input on how to improve, or if you have thoughts on the Council on Aging sign, or you think that the signage on the Council on Aging is sufficient now, that's on the front of the building.
I have something to say. I think the 3x3 current limit is unnoticeable.
Yeah.
And for seniors who like large print things,
Yep.
maybe having a slightly larger sign there is good.
Yeah.
And having it look like the sign in front of the Public Safety Building. So we start to have more of a consistent kind of look,
Right.
Look and feel around, which is, I think that's really important in what we do. As far as the other signs, I'm happy to volunteer to help rebuild that sagging,
Temporary one,
dilapidated thing to try to make something that looks more consistent with what the other signs are. Doesn't have to be fancy. I don't think a lot of people just hang banners or want to write something on it, but I think we should replace that sagging, sad
Yeah.
thing. It's about ready to fall down of its own accord anyway. So if we did something, I wouldn't suggest we go as far as this, because it's granite posts and gold lettering, and it's a fixed building type of thing. So something that's in character of what's going on there, I think it's something that we could do you know, just,
What was the price on this, do you know?
I can't remember. It's already, I believe it's already encumbered, but I can't, it wasn't cheap.
mm,
You know, it's a quality sign.
Right.
You know, it's similar to the public safety one. It was a couple grand, I think, at least.
I was always curious about just using something like a split rail fence, or maybe something that had a little bit more definition to a split rail fence, where it was either 2 or 3 sections, and the section is what it is. It's 24 by whatever, 48. So every banner was the same size, fits in an existing situation with clips or whatever, and
I like that idea.
Done.
You've got that kind of split rail
Then we have
fence
a
that would
nice
mirror
fence-
across the street at the park almost.
right.
something
And
that
they can-
mirrors the look. Yep.
It clips right over that little split rail fence, and when it's
Okay.
not there, it just looks like a nice little fence in front
Right,
of
right.
the Council on Aging.
And this is, you know, and you said this sign is proposed by the Council on Aging is bigger than, is allowed by the current zoning, so there'd be a need for them to go before a ZBA anyway. Why don't we, if it's all right with you, I'll take these ideas back and let the ZBA do their job with the Council on Aging and make sure.
Perfect.
We'll make application to get a new sign for the council.
Yep.
That fits within what everybody
Yeah.
feels will not be.
And
Sign
I like
pollution.
Jeff's idea about
Yeah, I do too.
about the split rail.
I
I
like
think
that
that
a
would
lot.
fit with the character of, you know, I don't want so much pollution down there that, you know, I know some people love the new sign, the temporary one, for getting news out there. Some people think it's an abomination, but, you know, the part of the reason why Chief and the DPW director and I wanted something like that was that, so our little town meeting signs and the election signs, I don't think we're really doing it for people.
Maybe this is a little bit of a stretch, but building on what Jeff suggested, I like the idea of kind of mirroring the Patton Park image and the split rail fences, because it's nice, everybody who comes to town goes, oh, what a beautiful
Right.
Yeah.
setting. So if we're doing that in front of the Council on Aging, I know the school sign at Winthrop is similarly falling apart.
Yep.
Maybe we could ask them, whatever we come up with, maybe they do just at that corner, a similar
Right.
kind of thing, so all along there, it all looks the same.
No, that'd be good, because we had,
Hamilton billboard, split rail fence.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
but we did talk, you know, it's been a handful of years now since we had the, was it ULC came in and did the charrette with the planning board, and we
Yeah.
talked about village branding and kind of like that, making a uniform thing, because we don't have much of that. Now, this might help towards that goal a little bit of uniforming the downtown look.
Yeah,
That's a really cool idea.
Yep.
Jeff, I like that.
Great.
excellent.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea, making, you know, because I'm looking, yeah, it's just, it's different size, different thing everywhere, so.
Yeah, everything's all different sizes.
All right.
This is, nobody, and people aren't gonna be able to replicate this, because they're not gonna be able to afford this, so,
Right,
might be, like you said, a little much.
yeah.
They need
So let's,
definitely a sign,
I'll
but,
task it to you to
Yeah.
kind of circle back with Mary Beth and Tim and see what we can do there, and reach out to Bill. And I think that what I got from Bill, I haven't talked to him personally, but a couple of emails, I think he would like the kind of blessing from the Board of Selectmen if we were to go with this sign. They don't need our approval for it because they're separate from us with the zoning stuff, but he just wanted to make sure it was okay. So maybe we have another discussion and,
So I move that we recommend to the ZBA the adoption of that Council on Aging sign.
Can I just add, as long as, like you said, it's consistent with the adjacent
signage,
town
the public safety building sign.
public safety sign,
Yeah.
something
Okay.
like that, yeah.
That one.
Yeah, second.
All right, all those in favor?
aye.
All right, moving right along. Approve Board of Selectmen meeting schedule from January to June in your packets here. We've got a couple holidays in there, just to make note that we've got due to Martin Luther King Day in January, we're on a Tuesday, and then due to I almost said St. Patrick's Day. The Patriots' Day holiday, we're on a Tuesday, April 16th. The rest is the usual cadence.
Yeah, our normal first Monday,
First, third,
first and
yeah.
third Monday.
Yep. No real change, just a note of the holidays, but
I move that we adopt this recommended meeting schedule for the Board of Selectmen from January through June of 2019.
Second.
all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. Believe it or not, we're already on the new business.
Jeez.
Haps-
I've got
Warning,
a
we already
topic,
have
the using the cemetery, one of the cemetery
wreaths.
funds for wreaths.
Oh, yeah.
I'll ping Karen and
Okay.
make sure to know, you know, how many, I know they do hundreds, and I'm not saying we do all of them, but maybe we
Right.
can make a nice contribution towards it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great.
All right.
Okay. Anything else?
We've got the FinCom joint meeting.
Yep.
That's gonna be a big chunk of our time, I think.
Yeah.
We also have a poll hearing, I think,
I
scheduled.
think there's two.
The two, so we've got some have-to-dos that are already going on that night.
And you had already had a water rates discussion scheduled for Marissa and Tim to be here on that.
Yep.
And since Tim was gonna be here, is he gonna be ready to talk about plowing of private ways?
We'll talk some about plowing on private ways. He will.
Okay. So, if that's,
So we've got already pretty full plate
Yeah,
for
that's
the next one,
right there.
considering
There's a lot of
half this
stuff.
meeting we cut out tonight.
right.
Anything from you, Bill, that you can think of that,
No, not right now.
not right now? Great.
Mary Alice?
There was mention of the water ban was to be on the consent agenda, but I think Jim wanted to end the ban.
We voted it tonight.
Voted it.
It was in the consent
Already on the
agenda.
consent.
Tonight.
I'm sorry, I missed it.
That's
That's
all right.
okay. Good thought, though. I think that's it.
Great.
All right.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Great, thank you.
Great meeting, guys.
Very nice.
How about this, like this kind of
A
sign
couple
right
of
here?